The next thing we're going to do is create a design and navigation template. So just like a slide master in PowerPoint, this template will provide consistent design in our simulation. It's going to be a background, a set of elements that will appear on every page in our simulation. And we're going to use a device called the navigation control in our template to provide a consistent form of navigation between the dashboard and the company information pages. What you're going to learn here is how to create and use a template and how to use a navigation control object. So let's go to Architect and get started. So what I need to do first is to create a placeholder page, a page that will eventually contain the content for my dashboard, which I'm going to do by clicking the Add Page button down here. I'm going to change the name of this page from Page 2 to Dashboard, to Company Info. And I'm going to do the same for Page 1, changing it to say Dashboard. These names here are just to make our lives as simulation authors easier so that we can identify what each of these pages are without having to remember, oh, page 1 is this and page 2 is that. Now that I've done that, I can go into the context menu, which appears above all of the pages, and change the view to show me all of the templates in my simulation. In this case, I have just a blank template, and on this blank template, I want to recreate the simulation design that we saw in the final product. To do that, I'm going to use a widget called the Shape widget, which you can get to behind the drop-down arrow of the graphics frame. So I'm going to choose the Shape widget, and I'm just going to put it in the center of the page. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to the settings, which are the wrench, and I'm going to change it from being transparent to being not transparent, which I'm going to do by setting the color of the background to gray. Very good. And then I'm going to change the border to be solid and 2 pixels thick. And instead of black, if you remember, the color scheme of this interface was gray and red. So I'm going to go to the color picker, and I'm going to choose a nice bright red to use for the border. But now you may be saying, well, the border in the simulation wasn't showing the left and the right and the top. How do we position this object on the page to make it like that? What we're going to do is we're going to go to the style settings where we can change the size and position by hitting this down triangle, and we're going to position this widget manually rather than using the mouse. So this is a handy trick I like to use for making backgrounds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set the X position for this background to be 2 pixels off the screen in the X direction, and in the Y direction I'm going to do the same thing. That cuts off the left border and the top border. The next thing I need to do is cut off the right border, which I can do because I know the width of the page. The page is 800 pixels wide. But instead of entering in 800 as the width, I need to enter in 804 to account for my border on both sides. And the height of this mast should be 60 pixels, but rather than entering in 60, I want to enter in 62 to account for the 2 pixels of border that I've cut off. I've now created the background image, but it can be annoying because I can select it and move it by mistake. So what I'm going to do is lock it in place using the lock checkbox, which means now I can't select it and inadvertently move it by mistake. If I want to change this widget, I can double click on it and then unlock it to move it around again. So now that we've created our background, what I want to do is start creating the title for our simulation, which I'm going to do using the text box, and I'll place that down. I'm just going to type in price war. And the size of this text box I'm going to make as 36, and I'll make the font white, which I think will go nicely with our light gray background. You'll see here that when I put the text box up here, that it's actually hidden behind the shape. To fix that, I can right-click and send it to the front, but now we just see a white box. Why is that? Because the background of our text box is white and it is not transparent. If I make it transparent, we can now see the white text through the gray background. Now that we've done that, we need to set up our navigation. To set up our navigation, we're going to use the navigation control. So I click on the navigation control and click again to place it. And I'm going to come back to the settings panel for it before I set up the styles. And I'm going to add 2 links into the list. And this navigation control is going to appear as a tab bar. I'm going to go to the first link, and I'm going to have that first link bring you to the dashboard. And the second link will bring us to company info. So you can see that it's using the page names by default for the tab titles, but if I wanted to, I could enter in my own label. Now let's style this control. The first thing we want to do is increase the font size to 14 so that everything is nice and readable. And then we want to make the following changes to the colors. The link background color is going to be red, and the selected link text color is going to be the same red. Then the selected link background color is going to be white, and we're going to use a white font color to represent all of the text. So now that we've done that, what we can do is take this device and put it up at the top of our page, aligning it with our border using the arrow keys to create a coherent tab style interface. When we come back to our regular interface by going to the interface menu in the context, you'll see that we're not actually using our template yet. To apply our template, what we need to do is go into the selected page settings and choose template 1, and then apply the current template to the entire interface. Now we see our template is on both pages. But of course we have a problem. We've put our dashboard a little too low on the page, so let's go back to our templates and just quickly arrow it up a bit. And now we have a very nicely aligned set of tabs.